Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're plugging in and cranking it up to tell the incredible story of the guitar. We're talking about a 5,000-year journey, a wild saga of innovation, rebellion, and a constant search for new sounds.
And that's really the big question, isn't it? How did this quiet, kind of personal instrument end up becoming the roaring, thundering heart of rock and roll? It's one of the most amazing stories in music history, and we're going to unpack it.
All right, to get this, we have to rewind the clock, way, way back. We're talking thousands of years, to the ancient Middle East. That's where the very first seeds of the guitar's design were planted.
So let's trace this family tree, because it's pretty cool. It all starts around 3000 BC in Mesopotamia with an instrument called the oud. You can see it's pear-shaped, no frets. Well, over centuries, through trade and people moving around, it makes its way to Europe and slowly morphs into the lute. From there, it's a short hop to 16th century Spain and the vihuela, and that is where we really start to see the shape of the modern guitar we know and love.
Back then, the vihuela was the it instrument, It looked a lot like a guitar, but it was tuned more like its ancestor, the lute. This thing was complex. It was elegant. It was basically the perfect instrument for playing really sophisticated, written-out music for the Spanish courts and all the fancy up-and-coming city folk.
But check this out. This is where it gets really interesting. As a new, simpler 5-string guitar starts showing up, the establishment just hated it. This quote says it all, right? They thought the guitar was just noisy, low class, a disruptor. And this wasn't just about music. It was about class. It meant that suddenly any stable boy could pick it up and play. Music wasn't just for the rich anymore. It was the democratization of music happening right there. Kind of sounds familiar, doesn't it? So, for the next few hundred years, the guitar had this one major problem. It was just too quiet. You couldn't play it in a big room. And that limitation is what set the stage for this amazing burst of innovation in the 1800s. Luthiers, the people who build guitars, went on a quest for more volume.
And what's so cool is that you have two brilliant builders on totally different continents, both solving the same problem. Over in Spain, you've got Antonio Torres Jurado. He perfects the classical guitar by inventing something called fan bracing under the top. It basically lets the wood vibrate more, creating a much richer, louder sound. Meanwhile, over in America, C.F. Martin is going a totally different route. He's building guitars for steel strings, which have way more tension. So he invents X-bracing, a stronger support system that gives his guitars this huge, powerful, booming voice. And right there, you have the two main branches of the acoustic guitar family tree.
And this quest for volume led to this awesome variety of body shapes. Look at this. Each one was designed for a different job. The small parlor guitar, perfect for playing in your living room. Then Martin creates the dreadnought. That big body with the booming bass became the sound of folk and bluegrass. Gibson goes even bigger with the jumbo, trying to make the loudest acoustic guitar, period. The instrument was really finding all of its different voices. Okay, now we get to a really pivotal moment, and a truly fascinating guy. A troubled genius, really, whose one big idea would create the crucial link between the acoustic world we've been talking about and the electric revolution that was just around the corner. So in the 1890s, this guy, Orville Gibson, has a totally radical thought. He's looking at violins and cellos, and he thinks, what if you built a guitar like that? So he starts carving these beautiful arch tops and backs out of solid pieces of wood. And the result? The arch top guitar. It had more punch, way more projection, and a totally different sound than a flat-top guitar. And what's just unbelievable is how fast this all happened. In less than 10 years, Orville patents his idea, founds the Gibson Company, which, becomes a legend, and completely changes the game. But this genius came at a huge personal cost. He struggled with mental illness and spent the last years of his life in and out of institutions. It was an incredibly brief, brilliant, and in the end, really tragic career. Now, Gibson's archtop was louder, for sure, but it still couldn't compete with the roaring brass sections of the big jazz bands in the 1930s. Once again, the guitar was just getting drowned out. And this time, the solution? Well, it was going to have to be electric. This is such a classic story of invention, right? Step 1, you solve the volume problem by inventing the magnetic pickup. Gibson slaps one on an archtop and boom, you get the ES-150. But then, step 2, you create a brand new problem. When you turn it up loud, that hollow body vibrates and creates this awful howling feedback. So the only way to kill the feedback and get even louder was to get rid of the hollow body altogether.
And with that final solution, the solid body guitar, the instrument was finally completely unleashed. It was no longer just a rhythm instrument in the background. It was ready to step out front and become the voice of a full-blown revolution.
It's like the floodgates opened. In this insane burst of creativity right after World War II, the guitars that would define everything were born. It started with Leo Fender's super simple, super brilliant Broadcaster. Then Gibson finally teamed up with the inventor Les Paul to release their iconic solid body. And just when you think it's over, Fender drops the Stratocaster, which looked like it was from outer space. And the wildest part? These designs were so good, they're basically still the standard today.
Look, this new technology wasn't just about being louder. It was about attitude. The solid-body electric guitar gave a whole new generation of artists, pioneers like Sister Rosetta Tharpe, Chuck Berry, all the way to sonic wizards like Jimi Hendrix, the power to create sounds that nobody had ever even imagined before. It became the official soundtrack for youth, for rebellion, for changing the world.
So, when you look at this whole long, winding story, you see that the guitar has always been about solving problems and reinventing itself. From an ancient oud in Mesopotamia to a modern Stratocaster, it has constantly changed to meet the needs of the music and the musicians. And that leaves us with this one final, really exciting question. After 5,000 years, what comes next? What does the next chapter for the guitar even sound like?